Mr. Stepnick, what has been your least favorite job of all time?
Well, the first one that pops to mind is I don't even know if they still exist anymore, but I used to work at a store called Kmart. Um, and it was for the 3 months that I worked there, it was literally the worst thing ever. Um, Nobody knew what they were doing, so I didn't know what I was doing, but I always got blamed for everything. So, yeah, uh, by far the worst job was as a stock person in the sporting goods department of Kmart.
And they wonder why they went bankrupt, right?
Exactly.
What is the worst job that you've ever had?
The worst job that I've ever had was working at the Ellensburg Gun Club, mainly because I had to score, and the old men would always come and yell at you if they felt that they should get a higher score, if they hit their pigeons, I think you called them, and you said that they didn't hit it or didn't see a piece fly off of it.
Oh, so they yell at you.
They
got
would
mad.
yell at you.
And
They would-
how old were you?
Gosh, I was 14 or 15.
They would yell at a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they were competing against one another for a lot of money.
Sounds like a dream job to me. What is the worst job that you've ever had?
Oh, it's definitely construction. Take your pick, whether it's roofing or crawling through a crawl space in, like, I don't know, super warm temperatures, like not yesterday, over the weekend. Well, it was in the 80s. That wasn't even that bad, but it felt miserable crawling around in an attic that's just blown in insulation. You move a little bit, you kick up all sorts of dust and pretty much fiberglass up in the air getting into your lungs. Thank goodness I eventually put one of these on. Protects my lungs a little bit.
Always thinking a little bit
Even though it
ahead.
was a little late, I went up there a couple times without it, but it was miserable. Just sweat dripping off, covered in insulation.
Did you find any mice or any rats down there?
It was up in the attic, that crawl space, but
gotcha.
no, actually, surprisingly not. It's a pretty nice attic, actually. Like, it was insulated well.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. What has been your worst job experience that you've ever had?
Okay, worst job experience. I worked in a daycare when I was in college, and generally I don't like riding in buses, so we would go on a lot of field trips. But then there was just a lot of changing of diapers for the smaller ones that were very stinky and not my own child. And then there was also the cleaning of the bathrooms that had to be taken care of inside the daycare. So I did not enjoy either of those parts of the job.
What is the worst job that you've ever had?
Okay, so I was born and raised on a dairy farm. And growing up, there were a lot of disgusting jobs that we actually had to do. Everything from cleaning out cow pens to unloading hay in the hay mows in July when it's 95 degrees. But actually, one of the worst jobs, I always hated it, was when it came time to cover the silos. Our silos are dug into the ground, and there was, they were just huge mounds of silage. You have to cover it with tarps, and then you'd have to throw tires onto the plastic to hold the plastic down. Well, the worst part about this is inside those tires, they would have been sitting out, sometimes with silage juice in them, is what we called it, which is just rainwater mixed in with the silage, this fermented bacteria, etc. And when you throw the tires, they'd land and it would splash. And sometimes people would just throw these tires indiscriminately and you would get covered in silage juice. It was disgusting, and you'd have to do this for hours. So as soon as you got wet once with this silage juice, you just had it on you for an hour until you were completely done with the job. It stunk, literally stunk.
What was your worst job experience that you've ever had?
My worst job experience was when I was a housekeeper at the Hotel Hershey for a summer when I was in college, and it has made me never want to clean another toilet again, because you clean 14 to 20 rooms every day, and it was backbreaking work that I had to do, and had to wake up really early, had to deal with people coming in, they're messing up the room. You go in and you clean it. So it has made me really appreciate people who clean other places, but never want to do that again.
What was the worst job that you ever had?
When I was in high school, I held a job for about 3 hours. I put an application in to actually be a gas pump attendant down to Buckhorn's truck stop. And they called me up and said, yes, come on down. When I got there, I found out I was not a gas pump attendant. I was going to be a dishwasher. And the final straw was when I reached my hand down into that greasy, gray, slimy water and a piece of bacon wrapped around my wrist. I turned around and said to the boss, "I'm gone," and I was gone.
Do you do the dishes at home for your wife?
Oh, we have a dishwasher, but I load the dishes, and if I have dirty ones that we don't want to put in the dishwasher, yes, I will. But
You're a good husband.
that's my food and dishes. It's not some stranger with a slimy piece of bacon.
That is pretty gross.
That's pretty gross, yeah.
My worst job is when I worked at a place called Paramount, which was a gym. And it was awful because I had to clean all the gross, smelly towels that all the men were using in the gym, primarily men. And the laundry room was in the men's locker room. So I had to shout into the locker room and ask them if anyone was in there or changing before I went in to do laundry. And let's just say not all of them were honest about being in there.